So now you've practiced one of these in black and white. We're going to go on and try it in colour. So I have all my colours mixed up here. I have my dark grey or black here, which is a combination of burnt sienna and ultramarine. And from that I've made some other greys for the cast shadow. So I have a darker cool grey, I have a lighter cool grey, and I'll be using a warm white for the surface. For the greens I have a dark green which is made with cadmium yellow light, a small bit of ultramarine, actually a decent bit of ultramarine, and a bit of burnt sienna, just to tone down those greens. They were a little too vibrant. I've got a middle green made of cad yellow light, a smaller quantity of ultramarine, and just a touch of burnt sienna just to take the edge off it again. And then I've done the same for a light green and an even lighter one. I also have my browns down here, which for the dark brown it's pretty much just burnt sienna, and then I've got a burnt sienna with a small bit of yellow through it for the slightly lighter brown. You can add a little bit of white if you need to as well. Okay, so I have my canvas here as well, toned down with a little bit of burnt umber acrylic. I've also put a very thin layer of linseed oil and Sansidor, half and half mix on that. So I'm going to go ahead now and just draw the pear in. We've done a lot of practice on this in pencil. It's good to get some practice with the brush as well. Not quite as precise as a pencil, a little more difficult to handle, but it's really good practice to be able to draw with a brush. There's my pear, comes in there slightly more, stalk. Don't worry too much about position, this is just a practice session. Division of the background coming along here, and then I have a lovely cast shadow coming down and the stalk shadowed on that as well. Now while I'm at it, I can use this dark brown paint to create the dark accent. So I'm going to put in all those aspects of light now. Dark accent, and then just less paint on the brush now, so I can just fade that out. I can block this shadow in very dark, and then a slightly lighter black for the background. I can also use this same paint because there's to put the shadow in for the pear, because I've got the same paint, the same blue and the brown in with the yellow to create the green, so this won't be a problem. So I'm going to come down and get my core shadow. The light's coming from here, so I have a core shadow coming around. I'm not putting too much paint on. It's a great way to work because very quickly, just with blue and brown, you can get a sense of, you can get the drawing done, you can also get a sense of the light and shade on it. So I'm going to go ahead now and just block in. So I'm going to start maybe with the dark green. I'm going to model the forming green, and then I'm going to add the brown onto it after. Okay, so there's my shadow. Let's come in now for a slightly lighter colour. If we call that the core shadow, we have slightly lighter paint on the outside. We're going to have some reflected light coming up. Okay, so we're just working from theory at this stage. Let's fill in the half tone for the pear. And then up towards the lighter colour. So this is like the local value and colour of the pear. And let's go in for highlight. Let's go down now into the cast shadow. We've got the dark accents, so a slightly lighter, cool grey. Maybe darken that shadow down a little bit more. Let's get the dark background, which is slightly lighter than this. Just needs to be light enough that that really deep shadow stands out. Now we come down. I think our core shadow or cast shadow needs to be lightened up a little bit. We don't have to get these colors perfect or these values perfect. We get them near enough. Step back, assess them. Do they need tweaking? If they do, we go in and do that. Right, background now. I'm just going to grab a little bit of medium just to help this paint to flow. Cut in. Turning the brush. And there we have a pair that looks fairly convincing, just from theory. Okay? We took the shape, sorry, not just from theory, mostly from theory. So now let's go back and look at what we see here. We've got pattern, haven't we? So for the pattern, we need to keep the browns dark in the shadow side. It's a little like continents on the globe. Some large ones, some small ones, some little islands. And then as it gets, the form turns into the light, the pattern becomes a little lighter. So now I'm looking carefully at what I see, along with using the theory that we have. Okay, maybe just up into the brightest highlight. Let's look at maybe pulling a little more reflected light into this. Okay, and that'll probably do. So it's not a perfect looking pair, but we've used the theory of light, tried to attach it onto what we see and create something convincing.